In today's video, traders, we're going to be talking about how to spot a reversal on XAU USD. This is gold. Now, the gold market is a very, very tricky, interesting pair to trade. It's extremely volatile, it moves quite a bit, and it trends quite heavily. In today's video, I'm going to take you step by step on how I like to look for potential reversals in the gold market and how you could potentially trade them to profit off of their moves. Let's go ahead and get into the video right now. Welcome back, traders, to another one of my videos. If you're new here, my name is Nick, also known as Trader Nick here on YouTube. I make all sorts of trading videos. I do all sorts of market analysis and share trading tips as well as educational content. And we take a look at the Forex market and do research and backtesting and all sorts of stuff. And so in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at XAU USD, looking at the gold market and how to potentially spot some reversal signs on this particular market. Now, I speak specifically here about gold because gold is something that moves very unique. It moves differently than a lot of other currency pairs in the sense that it can really trend. Now, to understand why it can really trend, it might be best just to kind of think about the concept here of gold. Now, gold is a commodity. It is something that's been valued for thousands of years, right? And it's a lot of times a kind of safe haven storage for wealth, right? So a lot of people will put money into gold when they're fearful, or they'll kind of store their money in gold rather than other things, right? Maybe like stocks or other currencies, right? People will store money in gold as kind of a safe haven. Now, especially with some of the fundamental things going on, I know China is hoarding a lot of gold, right? Things like this, right, can really cause massive trends to happen in gold. And if we back it up on a weekly chart, that's right, I said weekly chart. Look at some of these trends that we've seen go on in the gold market. Look at this massive uptrend. And you better believe that all along the way, people were saying, oh, it's too high, it can't keep going. People were saying, it's gotta come down, it's gonna come down, right? And so every single time we had a big movement to the upside, people were saying, you know, it can't go any further. So I'm gonna get my red marker to illustrate, right? They said, you know, price can't go any further, it's coming down, right? Price can't go any further, it's coming down, right? Price can't go any further, it's coming down. Price can't come any further. You guys get the point, right? So a lot of times people are trying to fight the trend on gold. They're trying to push price down. They're trying to say it can't go any higher. But again, when I talk about gold, I like to talk about it as a very strongly trending currency pair or kind of commodity, right? Whatever you want to call it. Gold is one of those things that can trend extremely long and a lot longer than most people will expect. However, with that said, there are some massive reversals that we do see happen a lot of times on the gold market. Take a look back at our example here. This, if you don't recognize this, we are looking at around 2011 where we saw a massive run up on gold. Absolutely catastrophic move to the upside on gold. You can see we were trading down here like right around 700, all the way we ran all the way up to about $1,900. Quite the move here to the upside here. XAU USD massively spiked to the upside. However, there was a massive reversal that followed. And in today's video, I'm going to be trying to show you guys some ways that we could potentially spot reversals like this in the markets so we can potentially trade in the direction of a reversal. Now, again, this is not something I recommend for the faint of heart, as gold can trend extremely hard for an extremely long period of time. But if you can catch a reversal on XAU USD, then it can be huge, right? It can really reverse. Take a look at this movement. So again, we moved all the way up to $1,900 here. You can see we made massive stride to the upside, but then look at the correction all the way back down to here, which is down to, what is that, 1,000? We made all the way back down to around 1,050, right? So massive sell-off. That's that's cut in half, right? So the gold price cut in half. Massive movement to the downside. And so with that said, right, there are some really big moves on the upside and on the downside. That's what I'm trying to get to here with gold. And what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in again here. And I'm going to talk about how we could potentially spot some signs of reversals on gold. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just some let's see. We'll add a moving average, 200 period. Let's make that red. I like to make my 200 period red. If you guys don't know, I do like the 200 period moving average quite a bit. I think it's a very good long-term indicator, especially on the daily chart. It's one that I really like. We'll make this one blue. This is the 100 period. And we'll add also, let's see, indicators. We'll add another trend moving average here. We'll make it 50. And let's make this one orange. Okay, So what we can see here is, I know this is simple and I know a lot of people they get triggered just by seeing moving averages. I get it, I understand. But I pointed out that there's a moving average here because a lot of times when you do see a massive trend reversal, you're gonna see kind of these things start to cross each other, right? I know it's a very simple concept, but it's just a visualization tool for us to take a look at. You can see when price starts to really cross over, you can see we got some really nice continuation here to the downside. The trend continued, and same thing on the long side, right? Look at that. We all crossed up, they all started to line up. You can see that let's see, if we zoom in just a little bit, right? If we zoom in just a little bit, you can see that we had all three moving averages move up into sync, right? Into alignment. So this is the 50, this is the 100, and this is the 200, right? So we have all of those lined up, and that's telling us that, you know, it doesn't mean necessarily that the market has to go higher, but it does tell us that, okay, buyers are in control here. Buyers are pushing strongly on this market. And again, as we mentioned, gold can trend very, very strongly. However, this right here is where things get interesting. A lot of times you see those crossovers, you see a lot of that kind of crossing over as a potential indication or early warning sign that price is ready to reverse and start a new trend, right? So going back a little bit further, you know, we can see that that's happening again and again in the market. In fact, if we go back, you can see, let's see, if we go back to here, you can see, you know, here's a great example. We crossed all over and then we got down here to the downside. So this is kind of a simple way to measure the trend here on XAU USD. You can see we stayed kind of relatively in sync here for multiple months, right? On that big run up in 2011. And again, when price started to break down, you can see the moving averages start to downtrend here. We chopped around a little bit, and then we ultimately came into a very strong downtrend that we spotted right here with that kind of three moving averages confluence with each other, right? So that's just one mention. Now, here's the other thing that I wanted to mention. Now, again, when we see a market like this, when it's stretched quite a bit, the 200 period moving average I mentioned as one of my favorite indicators on long-term movements. A lot of times the market wants to come back to test the 200 period moving average. However, when we're looking at a market like this, like gold, it can keep going. So we want to be open to the idea of it keeping going, even if we think it is too high. People, you know, just some context of right now at the time of making this video, people in my chat room, people in other chat rooms, people on YouTube, all of the different, you know, places that you can talk about this stuff. People are all over the place saying that gold has to come down. Gold has to come down. And they've been saying it since back here. I can testify that even in some of my videos here, I mentioned, you know, I did some market analysis back in these levels and people were saying price is too high. And in fact, back then we actually caught a beautiful, whoops, I just messed that up. We caught a beautiful bull flag pattern here. Right? So you guys get it. There's a lot of continuation opportunities with gold, right? We talked about this in kind of our VIP group as well as on YouTube. We had a bull flag pattern, price broke out, we retested, and we continued higher. So again, people were saying it was too high back here. People will kind of fight the trend heavily on gold all the time, but that's why institutions a lot of times make their money by pushing price against the retail traders and hitting their stop loss and continuing all that sort of stuff. I've got videos on my channel. There's a playlist called How to Trade Like the Banks if you're interested in that sort of concept. But how can we spot a potential reversal? Let's go ahead and draw this trend line here. This is really what I wanted to point out to you guys. You can see we drew this trend line, and in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these moving averages for a second here. And I want to take a look just at price for just a moment. So we're looking at the daily chart. We're looking at XAU USD. This is what I would be looking for if I'm using price action to identify a potential reversal in this trend. This is really what I'd like to see. So you can see we had a nice bounce here, right? We had a bounce here, buyers stepped in, and right now we're starting to see buyers hanging out, right? You can see we have chopped around at this trend line level. We also have it in confluence with this level here, right? So we have two levels of support right here. Now, for me to potentially be interested in selling this market, in going counter trend with gold, it's not even entirely counter trend, because the concept here that I'm going to be looking for is a start of a new trend, which would mean a breakdown, right? Significant breakdown. Show that strength, right? This level here, in order for me to look to be a seller on gold, if I want to see this market go down, I need to look to see that price gets broken through this major support level. Why? Well, then I would potentially be looking for some sort of retest of that area to join short. Now, if that didn't make sense, if that was too complicated, I'll break it down just a little bit more. We had a big kind of movement to the upside. We're still in the context of a strong uptrend. We have major support levels here, buy side action on gold right now currently. In order for me to be convinced that price may be headed into a downtrend, that price may be ready to really reverse and give us one of those big flushes that we've seen historically on gold, right? I want to see the market show me signs of weakness, signs of sellers stepping into this market and pushing price down. You could say that yes, this market has been sold off, right? But we are still holding a major level of support. And until that support level gets broken, I'm not necessarily interested in being a seller in this market because I need to see some sort of confirmation. I need to see some sort of break on this structure. Now, I don't always look for confirmation in my trading. I actually trade different things different ways. But when looking at gold, for me, I need to see some sort of sign of strength before getting involved on the short or long side, because again, that trend can be ridiculously strong, right? So we could continue to trend for whoever knows how long, right? It could just keep trending up and up and up. In order for me to be a seller, I need to see a breakthrough and a potential retest of this structure here, or a potential retest of this structure here, right? Give me some sort of discount on a potential trend continuation setup, and then I'll be potentially interested in trading on the downside of XAU USD. Now, gold is not something that I trade extremely often because it doesn't really fit my style extremely well. It's very trendy, and a lot of times what I like is to trade reversal markets or sideways pairs, that sort of thing. But if this setup were to set itself up, it might be something that I'd be really interested in looking to get involved with, either on the, on the Forex market side or even maybe on the stock market side. So guys, thanks so much for joining me on today's video about gold. If this was helpful to you, please give the video a thumbs up down below and make sure you check out some more of my content, and we'll catch you next time.